So good day, everyone. This is the first example for the motion of a projectile. So for the first example, the problem is the chipping machine is designed to eject wood chips at an initial velocity of 25 feet per second as shown in the figure. So if the tube is oriented at 30 degrees from the horizontal, what we need to determine is how high, which is represented by h, the chips strike the pile if at this instant they land on the pile 20 feet from the tube. So the answer for the height h is 1.81 feet. So for our solution, based of what I discussed last time on the procedure for analysis for motion of a projectile, the first thing is we need to establish the coordinate system. So here in our problem, the figure below will be considered as our coordinate system since it shows already the x and y axis, and makita po diri ang initial position which is at point O, and also its final point which is at point A. So once we establish the coordinate system, our next step would be applying the kinematic equations. So we will apply kinematic equations. For the kinematic equations, this is the same equation sa free falling bodies, sa rectilinear motion of particles. So when we encounter problem for projectile motion, the same lang gihapon na gamiton nato na equations na gigamit nato before sa free falling bodies. So for the kinematic equations, especially for motion of a projectile, we need to resolve into two parts. So we have for horizontal motion, and the second one is the vertical motion. So we will start with the horizontal motion. So that is acting along the x-axis. So for the horizontal motion, on the initial point, ang ihang Vox is this one. So kailangan nato i-resolve ang initial velocity with its x component, so that is Vox. And for the horizontal motion, the only equation na gamiton nato is this one, that is x is equal to xo plus Voxt. So mao lang ni ang equation na gamiton nato for the horizontal motion. Ang x na walay subscript, mao na ang final position. Xo, that is the initial. Vox, that is the x component of your initial velocity, and t is your time from point O to point A. So ang ato i-consider na points are starting from point O to point A. So the final position, which is the represented with XA, that is 20 feet. XO, which is the initial point, that is 0 since it acts along the origin. Vox, that can be found using VO times cosine 30 degrees, since the angle 30 is adjacent to the x-axis. So that would be 25 times cosine 30 degrees. And that would be 21.65. And based sa given, ang kailangan lang nato pangitahon is the time t. That is the time from point O to point A, which mao na tong gamiton for the vertical motion kung magdetermine ta sa height h, and also sa XA, XO, and VX. These three are all positive since it acts along the positive x-axis. And for that, when we substitute the values sa atong equation, that would be x is equal to XO plus VOXT. So this would be XA is equal to XO plus VOXT, and I will name that as with subscript OA because that is starting from O to point A. So XA nato is 20 feet. XO, which is the initial position, that is 0, plus 21.65 TOA. So ang atong time from point O to point A is equal to 20 over 21.65. So the time t is equal to 0.924. So that would be 0.924 seconds. So mo na to ang time na gamiton kung proceed ta sa vertical motion, which mo na to ang next step, especially kung pangitaon nato ang height h. So just a continuation. So for the vertical motion, we have actually three equations na pwede mapilian. So if we go back to the procedure for analysis, these three equations ay pwede na to gamiton biskan asa diri sa equation depende sa atong problem. Since atong gipangita is ang height h, so ang second equation ang ato ang gamiton. This is the position as a function of time. So that would be y is equal to yo plus voyt minus 1/2 gt squared. So the same lang gihapon sa horizontal, that is from point O to point A. So ang walay subscript, that is your final position based on the vertical motion. So that is YA. Ang YA nato is this one. So kanina height ato ang kailangan i-consider. Since it starts here going downward, so that would be a negative. So that would be negative 4 minus h. Okay, since we have h here and the total height from the origin is 4 feet, so that would be 4 minus h. The initial position based on the vertical motion is still 0 since it starts at the origin also. For the VOY, so atong VOY is this one. So we can determine that using this equation, since the y component of your initial velocity is opposite sa imong angle 30 degrees. So ang trigonometric function na gamiton is sine. So that would be 25 times sine 30 degrees. And that would be equal to 12.5 feet per second. And take note, your y component sa imong velocity is a positive since it acts along the positive y-axis. Ang imuhang g, since we are using English unit, that would be 32.2 feet per second squared. And the time, mao na to ang na-solve kanina sa horizontal motion, which is 0.924 seconds. So we can now substitute the given sa tong equation. So just a continuation. So that was y is equal to yo plus voy minus 1/2 gt squared. So this is ya, that is your final point, which is this one. Yo, that is your initial point, plus voy minus 1/2 gt squared. Ya nato was -4 minus h is equal to 0 ang initial, plus 12.5 minus 1/2, 32.2 times the, I forgot the time here. So this is time minus 1/2 gt squared. Time minus 1/2 gt squared. So ang time nato was 0.924 minus 1/2, 32.2 is our gravity. And the time is again 0.924 squared. So we can solve the height h. Let us compute this on the right side sa itong equation. So that would be 12.5 times 0.924 minus 1/2, 32.2, 0.924 squared. So that would be negative 2.196. Then afterwards, i-divide nato sa negative 1 para ma-cancel nato ang negative. So that would be 4 minus h is equal to 2.196. And for us to solve the h is equal to 4 minus 2.196. And h would be equal to 1.804 feet. So this is the height of the pile, which is this one, which is equal to 1.804 feet. And take note, since like what I've said, since ang atong YA is going downward man, so negative man siya, if you notice, ang gravity nga no, wala na to siya gi-negative, itungod, based man sa atong equation, negative na manggudaan ang 1/2 gt squared. So ang original manggudaan ni was y is equal to yo plus VOT plus 1/2 ACT squared. So ang constant acceleration man nato is negative, a gravity which is a negative. So that's why nihimo na siya negative 1/2 gt squared. So okay na dili na ninyo include ang negative sa solution, sa equation mismo. So lastly, the height of the pile for this problem is equal to 1.804 feet. So that would be your answer.